Hi everybody, it's me Jill and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of New York City, Season 11, Episode 19, The Reunion Part 2. Well, we don't waste any time just diving right into the Ramona coaster. We start off with a little bit of the softball questions, but it takes no time at all to really go on attack. Not that she doesn't deserve it. We get the recap package, which is just so good, you guys. There's so much content. We start with, of course, Barbara's Clambake in the Hamptons when Ramona left with all those lobsters in her purse. Not a purse, but. And she didn't want to give her condolences to Bethany in person. I wrote her a text. We start with that, and then we move on to the Charity Fiasco. Oh my God. That was so bad. But you know what? It wasn't just Ramona. Dorinda needed to shut up too. And actually so did Sonia. The three of them were making fools of themselves and really pulling focus from the reason everybody was gathered there for New York kids that have been abused. And it was horrifying. And then one of the highlights for me this season, the charity event that Ramona had invited Dorinda to, but then sat at a different table. And she tried to pretend that she thought it was 61. I didn't know it was 62. And she swore on her daughter's life. And then, of course, she's caught red-handed. And we end with the piece de resistance, which is when Ramona's other friends wanted to invite Sonia to Ramona's birthday party. And Ramona said no. And then told all of them, you guys weren't invited. I had no control over that. How can you not love Ramona? I mean, from a TV viewer standpoint, she is television gold. I know a lot of you are like, are you kidding? I would never be friends with her. Yeah, neither would I. But I'm not friends with her. I watch her on TV. That is my only relationship with her. And for that reason, I love her exactly the way she is. So after that whole montage, Andy said, oh, Ramona, you've got some splaining to do. And all the ladies kind of laugh. And he said, I'll start with something positive. I've gotten a lot of comments from viewers saying that you and Mario are so cute together and wondering if you two will ever get back together. And she said, no, we had a long marriage. We've gotten to a place where we can be friends with each other. And it's good, but that's all it is. As much as everybody kind of wants the happy ending, they probably are better off as friends. Then the Harry Dubin thing gets brought up and she said, we're just friends. I mean, we did kiss that one time. I guess it was like kissing cousins or whatever. And that was it. And then Tinsley said, yeah, but when I brought it up, you denied it. You said you did not make out with him. And she goes, no, I didn't deny it. Well, she's caught in that lie. And so then Dorinda starts shouting out, table 61, table 62. So Andy said, okay, since you brought it up, Dorinda, what about the table 61, table 62 fiasco? Here's what she says. My skin might be ageless, but my mind is not. The ladies are like, oh my God. Blame it on dementia. She is actually trying to make it seem like her brain is addled and she got confused, and it is hilarious. Ramona goes, listen to me. I know I said table 62, but my brain did not register that. And of course we see that scene yet again. I mean, Bravo kept showing it to us because she was just so caught red-handed. It was perfect. Oh, she also said, I know now not to ever swear on my daughter's life. So she's trying to make it seem like she said out loud 62, but somehow in her brain she was thinking 61. But then Dorinda said that when they were there, first of all, Dorinda is upset because Ramona invited Dorinda as her guest. And she said, you know, when you invite someone as a guest, you sit next to them. Ramona's like, and there was an empty chair next to me. And she said that it wasn't an issue of you getting confused. Dorinda got the list, held the list up to her face and said, look, we are at table 62. And she said, and Ramona, you said, stop it, stop, don't make a scene. Red-handed. So Dorinda really just wants her at this point to just say she's sorry and that what she did was rude and it wasn't nice. All Ramona can bring herself to say is, no, it wasn't. The whole situation was a fiasco. The fiasco wasn't nice. You're the fiasco. In my opinion, you saw friends that were of a higher social standing and you wanted to sit with them or be seen with them or something, and you ditched Dorinda. Until you admit that, I don't think this is ever going to be over for the two of them. She just can't bring herself to do it. So Andy goes, okay, I want to move on to the next lie. And she's like, I'm sorry, I don't think that was a lie. And Andy's like, you don't think that was a lie? And of course, Dorinda, everybody's going nuts behind him. And she said, no, I didn't know it was 62. I thought Luann was delusional. So as she's yelling this, Bethany leans forward. When you talk loud, you sound like a moron. Okay, Bethany, it doesn't concern you. And you didn't have to butt in to say something rude like that. I love Bethany, but that's the kind of stuff that annoys me about her. She somehow has the right to interject all the time, and I think that she thinks her opinions hold more weight than anybody else's. And I'm starting to think that Bravo thinks that too. Anyway, he goes, well, here's another lie. The clip of you telling your friends not to invite Sonia to the birthday party. And Ramona's like, yeah, like, what about that? Andy goes, you know, you claimed that you had no say in the matter. And then we flash back to the woman saying, should I invite Sonia? And you said, no, no. And he said, what's your answer to that? And she goes, I wanted my birthday to be private, just for me and my friends. And I didn't want it to be televised. Tinsley said, well, you didn't have any problem posting all over social media pictures of your very private party. I mean, come on, Ramona. You had plenty of time to come up with a really good story before the reunion, right? You had to know it was going to get brought up. You saw that you were caught in these lies. You probably had at least a couple of months, I would think, to start formulating a good excuse. This was not it. Okay. She goes, you can't. Okay, this is funny. First of all, Sonia's like, what am I, only your TV friend? I'm your real friend. And she said, if I invited Sonia, it would have to be televised. And, you know, you can't break that third world, that third line. The Tinsley and Andy are like the fourth wall. You can't break that third world. Oh, God. So Andy says to Sonia, how do you feel about this? And she said, I was really hurt when I saw that. Those are my friends too. And we've had a lot of lunches. We've done a lot of things that were not for the camera. So I don't have to have everything filmed. To hear from my friends that Ramona's just trying to break into society as she's nearing her 70s, it was just unbelievable. Time out. Let's back up for a minute to that delicious little dig in the middle of that. Ramona is just now trying to break into society as she's entering her 70s. Oh my God. I love these ladies. So then now Andy says, I want to move on. What about your comment about Dennis? Ramona goes, oh, I couldn't apologize enough for that. I apologize to Dennis, to God, to everyone, to his family, to everybody here. I can't apologize enough for that. If I get this wrong, you guys can let me know in the comments exactly what was said, but I have a little bit of Ramona's dementia. It was something about Luann asking Dennis for help. And Ramona said something like, how could he help when he's on drugs? I mean, it was a very distasteful comment. So now she's like, yeah, I can't apologize enough for that. So we cut over to where Bethany is sitting. And Dorinda kind of puts her hand on Bethany's knee like, you okay with this? And then Andy said, how are you feeling? And Bethany's like, listen, we expect you to have poor behavior. But then when I go back and look at it, and it's just dig, smack, dig, smack. It's just like a punch in the face. Ramona cuts in and she goes, my behavior can be atrocious. And Bethany goes, to me, though. You have a thing with me. Ramona, no, I don't have a thing for you. You don't have a thing for her, but Luann's like, she's got a mean streak in her. I mean, she's come after all of us, though. It isn't just you. Bethany disagrees. Bethany thinks that Ramona is always coming after her. And Bethany said, how could you do that to me after the year I just had? You kick me when I'm down. Dennis just died. Ramona's reply is, sometimes I'm not thinking. Bethany's saying, but how could you not come to me? Like at that party, how could you not come to me and give your condolences? You're more worried about your neon heels and your lobsters than coming to give your condolences. It's cold. What is that? And she said, I never know if you're just going to scratch my eyes out. You're very hot and cold with me. I'm afraid of you. And Bethany goes, who should be afraid of who? Everybody should be afraid of you, Bethany. I mean... I certainly can't imagine Bethany being afraid of Ramona, right? Or anybody. So Ramona kept saying, I'm afraid of you. You've come at me with more guns blazing than anybody has ever. We cut to Sonia, who under her breath goes, touche. So it's not like other people don't recognize it either. I'm not saying she shouldn't have given her condolences in person when she saw Bethany for the first time after Dennis died. Even if she sent her a text, she should have gone over, said, I'm so sorry for your loss, and move on if you're afraid she's gonna claw your eyes out. You should have done at least that. However, I think Bethany does go after Ramona a lot. Not that Ramona doesn't deserve it. Many times she does, but let's just put it this way. There is no love lost between those two. So Bethany's like, that's fine, but then don't talk about me behind my back. She's referring to all of her confessionals. And Ramona tries to get away with the, I'm sorry if you feel that way. Bethany is not having it. She's like, it's not that I feel a certain way. You have said certain things. Go back and look at the footage like 8 times. So Ramona's like, okay, I'm sorry I said those things. I'll try to do better. That comment's gonna come back and bite you in the ass, Ramona, in about 3, 2, 1. Now Andy says, do you think you ever will take this and learn from it? And she's like, yeah, I'm trying. He's like, yeah, but we've done this 11 times. And here comes the montage. Starting with 2008, almost every reunion. Well, I'm sorry, I'll try to be better. I'm sorry, I'll try to be different. Well, that's just how I am, but I'll try. Uh-oh. Anyway, Andy said, but there were a couple of moments with you two this season that really surprised everyone. And it was when you were in upstate New York and they connected over their terrible childhoods. You guys remember that one. They really seemed to bond. And then when Bethany gave her that hug that lasted so long, I don't know if you guys remember, I said, wow, this is what almost dying will do for you, because Bethany was really in a forgiving kind of loving state at that party. Andy was saying there must be some redeeming qualities you find in this woman. And she goes, there are. That's why I'm sitting here. I do think that. And Ramona's like, I don't know what I can do. Andy's like, well, maybe don't mouth off. And she goes, I'll just keep my mouth shut. And Bethany's like, just try to be kind, maybe. We move on to Ramona's charity work and the charity event. To end all charity events, New York loves kids. Ramona said, I was speaking first and then they could have talked. She's kind of blaming that Dorinda butted in, but that was not really what the problem was, okay? Then Andy goes, Luann, you wrote a book on etiquette. What was your take on this? And Luann goes, oh, I was mortified. That just woke Dorinda up. And I'm sorry, how long was their little truce? Because that's over. Dorinda goes, come on, Luann, don't act like you're so above it all. The way you acted in the Berkshires, you need to go read your book again. They're kind of talking over each other, and Luann goes, oh, please, they got her name wrong. She's right. I'm sorry, I think what they did to that poor woman who started the charity was way worse. But anyway, Dorinda's on a roll, so she's like, oh, please, I need a massage, I need yoga, the fish room, how déclassé. Luann goes, and he asked me a question, now don't be rude. And it is weird to me that at this reunion, we're addressing that mortifying moment at the charity event, but we're putting all the blame on Ramona, and I think that's wrong. Dorinda, the way she interrupted was weird and embarrassing. It can happen at home, but it was someone she knew. It can be someone you know. It was so incredibly awkward. And Sonia was kind of making light of things. And this was a very heavy subject matter, child sexual abuse. It was really difficult to watch. And I don't put all that blame on Ramona alone. Okay, Tinsley, you're up. It's her turn to get grilled, and we see her package. And I don't know, I found it interesting that her entire season can be summed up in Bambi died, and the ladies are accusing her of still seeing Scott. And that's about it. Certainly not as exciting as Ramona's. So Andy asks her, you know, how do you feel about the ladies questioning where you get your money from? And she said, well, the way I grew up, we don't talk about money, and it's very uncomfortable for me. Thankfully and gratefully, I grew up very well off as a child. I lived in one of the biggest houses in Richmond, Virginia, and I was the lead of my debutante ball or something like that. I don't know. Is there a lead at a debutante ball? Dorinda can barely contain herself. She has to interrupt and say, yeah, we got all that. And Tinsley said, no, I don't think you do have all that. Do you want to hear how I grew up? Because what's confusing to me is this, did Scott buy my house when I grew up? Obviously, she's trying to make the point that her family has money. Dorinda's like, we're not talking about the house you grew up in. And she said, no, but we're talking about all of it. Where does it come from? I have family money. Also, I worked. I did a lot of branding. And then we cut over to Bethany, and she's like, she's making this face like, oh, she's not buying it. And Tinsley said, I worked for Dior. I made money. And Bethany goes, yeah, but that was a long time ago. Sonia, that's not enough to live in that hotel. And then Bethany said, I mean, let's face it, you don't live in New York. Okay, I am probably the last person to even know about this storyline. I don't have a lot of time to follow social media stuff. This is the first time I'm hearing this. And Tinsley goes, okay, I don't live in New York. That's where we're going with this? Andy says, do you still live in the hotel? And she said, I do still live in the hotel. Dorinda, nope, she moved out in January. I sent flowers there. They said she moved out. Anyway, she claims that she moved back in May. And Dorinda goes, full-time? Tinsley said, I signed a year lease, full-time. Tinsley is just looking right at Dorinda, and now Dorinda's like, what? Oh, is this just all focused on me? And she goes, yeah, I am focusing on you because you're the one that started the smear campaign. She's right. I really like Dorinda. I was shocked at how she was coming after Tinsley. I didn't understand what her MO was, why she cared, why she was coming at her so hard. Is she trying to get Tinsley off the show and Hannah a spot? What's in it for Dorinda? Because it doesn't make her look good. And in fact, when it was happening, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if she's going to feel remorseful at the reunion. Well, I guess I was wrong because she's kind of doubling down. So finally, Andy says to Dorinda, what kind of arrangement do you think she has with Scott? And she's like, well, I don't know. And she looks at Sonia, and Sonia goes, a damn good one. Andy and Luann look at each other like, yeah, that's true. Okay, so then Sonia said, when you moved in with me, you were shopping in small shops and stuff like that. And then it was getting more and more. So then Tinsley comes clean with it all. And she said, my money went down when I got arrested because I was not making good choices. And Andy goes, what? So the family trust, they lowered your income? She goes, yes, what I got per month, they lowered it after I got arrested because I was kind of off the rails there. And my mother didn't want me to live alone, so she wanted me to move in with Sonia until I could kind of prove myself. My mother was pissed at me. And so now that I have proved myself, the money has gone back up again. And Sonia's like, oh, makes sense. Okay, well, thank you for now being a good girlfriend. And Tinsley's like, I shouldn't have to explain my money to you. It's embarrassing. All right, so all the other ladies are saying, you know everything about us. We share everything. And she said, and you know everything about me too. And Bethany's like, Bethany's really sitting back with a lot of judgment here. I don't know. Maybe for Tinsley, she feels like she's sharing a lot. So then Andy says, okay, are you with Scott right now? No. Do you have an arrangement with Scott? Absolutely not. Since you announced you broke up with him at the spa party, have you gotten back together with him? No. Have you seen him? And she said, yes. And he goes, oh, you went on a date with him? And she goes, we went on a trip together. And he goes, you went on a trip together? Oh, did you have your own room? And she said, no. I mean, we were together, but it didn't work, okay? I mean, yes, he kind of crawls back and he wants to get back, and I went on this trip with him and it didn't work out. We have a viewer question asking Bethany what she meant by saying that Tinsley has set women back 100 years. And she said, well, I don't think she is the embodiment of female empowerment. Andy said, do you think it's just that she's got like old-fashioned values? And she goes, I just don't even think it's like rooted in reality anymore, the way she behaves. And you can see Luann kind of look over and go, you're just a Southern girl. And then Andy said, don't you think it's just because she's from the South? She's from a wealthy Southern family. She was a debutante. Bethany's like, well, that sets women back. And he goes, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's a Southern thing. And you could just hear like this din as everybody is like kind of weighing in on this. And Tinsley just kind of puts her head down and she's like, just whatever. And then we move on to Bambi. Andy's like, you know, I think the women were confused about the freezing and thawing process. Could you explain that maybe a little bit more? And she started to say that her sister also loved Bambi very much and she wasn't there when Bambi died and she wanted to see him. Everyone was kind of sympathetic. Andy's like, and then the fire department came? Like, why did the fire department come? And she said, because I called 911. We cut over to Bethany, who looks at Dorinda and she goes, if I laugh during this segment, kill me. I feel like a nervous laughter coming on. Okay. I'm not loving Bethany during part 2 here. It might just be me. I'm irritated by that. I just think that's so rude. Especially after seeing how devastated Tinsley was when Bambi died. You know how important that dog was to her. It was a family member to her. The idea that she's got like a laugh coming on, it just bothers me. Sonia said, nobody meant to make fun of you losing your dog at all. And Dorinda agreed. And then Andy's like, so before we close out, is there anything else that you want to say, Tinsley? And Dorinda said, I want to say something, Tinsley. I'm sorry if I made you feel bad. To tell you the truth, I was confused, but I would like if we could dig a little deeper. And Bethany goes, I would like that too. And Tinsley's like, you know, I'm still so upset about Scott. And you're like, they've got some kind of arrangement going on. I would have to be the best actress in the world if you think I could act that upset if it was just an arrangement. I was heartbroken. Okay, I have to mention this because I'm having a bad day with Bethany. We end that. Andy says we're going to take a little break. And Luann said, I have to stand up. And then he goes, where are you going? Ramona's running off. And she goes, I have to pee. I'll be right back. Bethany said, oh, and look at her waddling. So is she wearing a diaper? Okay, that was an unprovoked dig. So Bethany, you get to sit there and say, I don't know why you keep coming after me. When I've had such a tough year, I looked back at the show and it was just dig, slap, punch in the face. Well, what do you call that? Making fun of her waddling off and saying she needs to wear a diaper or that she is wearing a diaper or something. Was that a dig or a slap? In any case, it was unprovoked. So maybe you're not the only one that deserves apologies. We come back from break with this funny montage of all the quirks that the ladies have. And they're kind of laughing afterward. And the one thing for Tinsley was that she was always ordering Pinot Grigio. And she goes, yeah, that's my drink. And Andy said, Ramona, that used to be your drink. And she said, yeah, now it's vodka and soda. It's this thing called Hard Rock. That's the new thing, Hard Rock. It's this new millennium drink that's vodka-infused soda water. And Bethany, dripping with sarcasm, ooh, it sounds very sophisticated and complicated. Her snarkiness goes right over Ramona's head, and Ramona goes, it's for millenniums. And Andy's like, millenniums? And Bethany goes, millennials. And then everyone kind of laughs about that. But, you know, Bethany just gets away with being snarky like that. Boy, we are not going to get through part 2 without going after Ramona again. Andy said something to her and she goes, you know what? I feel good about myself. Here's what it is. I've been trying to work on myself. And he goes, what aspect have you been trying to work on? Because like we just caught you in 9 lies today. And she goes, physically, I'm trying to work on myself physically. And I think I look really good. You know, I'm like 10, 15 years older than most of these other women. And I think I look the same age. Cut to Bethany. I do think she looks the same age. I mean, not as Tinsley, but none of them look the age of Tinsley. She definitely looks the same age as Luann or Sonia or Dorinda. I think she's right about that. Just in case it seems as though I am sticking up for Ramona too much, we get a wonderful never-before-seen footage of her telling Tinsley that she wears too much makeup. You need to take off all that makeup. It makes you look old for your age. You look old for your age, and I look young for my age, and that's where it stands. Tinsley goes, you are a bitch. Ramona whips around. Why? What did I say that was mean? Okay. And now I'm back to loving her. Even as they're sitting there then, she said, you know why I did that? Because Tinsley and I had been bonding and I felt closer to her. And everyone's like, oh my God, Ramona. That's why you attacked her. Okay, back from a commercial. We only have 15 minutes left to the show and we are going to talk about Luann? Oh, honey, that is not enough time. Okay, so we see Luann's package. It's just about how she's trying to take her sobriety. It wasn't a funny package. It wasn't like a cabaret package or something like that. It was really about her maintaining her sobriety and the difficulties of that. The package ends with her like breathing into that breathalyzer thing that she has to do 3 times a day. Now we cut to her sitting on the couch and she goes, yes, and that's just my reality. And I don't think the girls understand that because I try not to talk about that aspect of it all the time. And I try not to be a Debbie Downer, but yeah, that's my life now. Ramona said, but you passed, right? You just passed? And she said, well, yes, but you know, I had that slip up. And so Andy asked her about that. And it was on Easter, she had 2 mimosas and then she took that breathalyzer thing and obviously didn't pass. Andy's like, how many times do you have to blow? And she goes, 3 times a day. And he goes, were you just thinking you could get away with it? And she goes, you know, your mind, it was 10 o'clock in the morning. Thought, okay, I don't have to blow until 3 o'clock. I could kind of get away with it. I don't know. But, you know, there's no margin for error. And it's very difficult to live like that every day. Then they talked about Miami a little bit. Luann didn't feel supported in Miami. She's like, because you guys all got so wasted and like nobody thought of me. And then Bethany, you came into my room to yell at me and you had a drink in your hand. And Bethany said, everybody on this couch has said that they've heard different stories. I mean, we're not cops, so it doesn't really matter. And Luann goes, it does matter a lot what you say because it can be held against me in court. And Bethany's like, well, okay, then then I'll just say that I don't think that any of us think that you've been taking it as seriously as you say you've been taking it. I don't think that's going to go over too well in court either. So Andy kind of moves on to say that one of the problems is that people are saying that you are in an environment with this cabaret stuff that is not conducive to your sobriety. And you have slipped in that environment. And she goes, no, it was not in a cabaret room. It was at brunch the next day. And he said, but you were on the road. And she goes, listen, I'll tell you something very interesting. I realize that I'm a self-sabotager. So actually, when I'm doing great, that's when I'm most at danger. In the cabaret room, I'm busy. I'm busy doing my cabaret thing. So then we get a viewer question. When you were manically asking everybody for millions of dollars and going through that whole thing, it seemed more than just a relapse. That seemed like a manic episode. And Bethany's like, mm-hmm. She said, well, you know, I've never seen a psychiatrist or had therapy before. So yeah, I mean, for sure, that is something that I am doing now. I'm seeing a therapist and I'm working through some of that stuff. Of course, when that happened with the children, it was devastating to me. And Bethany's like, yeah, that was it. That was more than just alcohol going on there. That was an episode. Okay, then there is just a flat out disagreement about whether Luann stayed in rehab for 3 weeks or 2 weeks. Luann swears that she was there for 21 days and she's got the paperwork to prove it. Bethany said, absolutely not. You were not there 3 weeks. Luann claims that she left a week early to do cabaret because cabaret is her therapy. That's where she is the happiest, and she didn't want to cancel the show and she wanted to do it. And she claims that everybody there supported it. And Andy goes, everyone at the rehab center supported your leaving early and not coming back? Yes, they did. They supported it. Everyone's kind of like, that is highly doubtful. But it is like a standoff because she is not budging from that. She started yelling at Bethany, I was there, you don't know. Why don't you let me talk because I know what happened. This started because Ramona made the comment about the 2 weeks. And she said, I know you weren't there. You were there 14 days. You were not there 21. Luann, just be quiet, Miss Pinot Grigio. And she goes, at least I don't have an alcoholic problem. This kind of broke down fast. And then Ramona says, well, I think you're still drinking on the side. No, I'm not. Well, I think you are. So there. So much for being concerned that your words can hurt me in court. Apparently Ramona doesn't care. And that is the end of part 2. Okay, guys, next week is the conclusion. And we get a little visit from our friend Barbara. Thank you so much for joining me. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Jill Informed. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. I always love to hear your thoughts. And I will see you next Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time for the final season 11 recap of The Real Housewives of New York City. I hope I see you there. Bye-bye.